This video was inspired by a video I saw by Big Clive where he was playing with his UVC lamp. So I've got one of these in my HVAC system. I figured I had to relamp it anyway, so we're going to play around with this. Now, before I get started, I'm going to tell you, whenever this lamp was in operation, I was not in the room. I was starting it remotely. Do not play with UVC lights. They are very dangerous and they can cause cancer. Let's take a look at this thing. So what this that we're looking at here, this is called a Swordfish UVC air sanitizer. And this one here is, this tube is shot. See, this is supposed to be clear. This is a fused quartz tube. It's a fluorescent light. It's a 36 watt fluorescent bulb. This one has been in service for far too long. In fact, the replace lamp light has been flashing for probably a year. Typically, they're good for 1 year, and then the lamp starts to flash. Here it tells you it's time to replace it. And what this does, sold by a company called Allenson, or made by a company called Allenson. As you can see, it's made in Canada. And this is part of my home heating air conditioning system. So this actually fits right inside the duct over top of the evaporator. So it sits in the duct like this. So the air going over top of it is sanitized as it passes by. But more importantly, what this does is it provides a constant bath of UVC light that gets down into, there's the air handler is shaped kind of like a V, like this, for the coils. So the light gets into the coils to prevent bacteria, mold, anything, any pathogen, germs, bacteria, mold, anything that would normally like to live in a nice, warm, humid environment like you would get on an air conditioner when the system's not running, right? You'll get moisture from the air that will collect on the condenser coils, and it's just a perfect breeding ground for bad things that would then, of course, get blown through the air when the air conditioner comes on. So this just keeps the system, clean. At least that's the claim. It was put in my system when the system was installed when I built the house. This was part of the system that was installed. And I've changed the lamp. I actually have to get a new lamp, but these things are ridiculously expensive. I usually wait for them to go on sale because the bulb will go on sale for about $50. I just looked one up on Amazon. They want like $80 for the bulb. The whole system is worth about $150. The bulb is worth a good portion of that. These lamps are dangerous, so you don't want to be exposed to them because being a UVC, a shortwave UVC or ultraviolet C, it will damage. It'll damage your DNA. It'll damage skin cells. You don't want to look at it because you can get a flash burn from the ultraviolet light. And this particular unit has a lot of safety features built in, such as if I plug it in, nothing's going to happen. It tells me it's got power, and it tells me to replace the lamp, but the lamp is not going to light. And the reason for that is that in the fixture itself, there's actually a magnet that goes around about somewhere in here that actually turns the lamp on. And I'm going to turn this thing on briefly. I'm just going to put my very dark ultraviolet protecting shades on because these will protect me against UVA, B, and C. This lamp is not going to emit much in the way of UVC light because you can see the mercury has actually been absorbed into the glass, into the quartz glass. So we're probably just going to see the argon that's still going to light up in this. If I put my magnet right about there, okay, and it's lighting up, as you can see. And it's not, well, my magnet slipped off its point, but it's more like right about there. As you can see, one side of the tube is much darker. I'm going to kill the lights in here so you guys can see it. You can see one side of the tube is much darker than the other. And that's because this lamp is toast. It's not putting out very much light at all. I'm moving away from it just because I don't want to be in the real proximity of the lamp. But you can see how a fluorescent light, how it burns out. It's still got fairly good emission on one side, but the other side of the lamp is almost completely out, which is kind of a characteristic of how fluorescent lamps fail. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera. It should be showing up okay. But one side of that lamp is much dimmer than the other. As you can see. I'm just going to shut this thing off. and we'll change the lamp. I don't have a new lamp, but I do have one that the change lamp indicator was on. This is an old one that I changed out and I didn't get rid of it. You can see the difference, right? This one's also apparently shot, but it's not shot as far as that one. When they're brand new, they're completely clear, and this one here is almost clear. We take the old lamp out by just depressing the little clips. In the base of the units, there's a little resistor that burns off. I'll see one on this one. I guess what was down in here. This one you can certainly see it. See, when they're new, they have a little resistor between the pins. It says keep eyes and skin out of UV, you think? I'm going to power this one here up, but I'm going to start it remotely. I'm not going to be standing near it because this one's going to give off a lot more UV light than this other one here. This other one here is, as you can see, pretty much toast. We'll put this one in. I'll power it up. Well, I won't power it up. I'll plug it in. I'll put my magnet in place so that when I hit the power switch, it will come on. But I'm going to hit the power switch from a distance. Okay, got my extension cord. I got my cord plugged into an extension so I can stand about 10 feet away from it here and turn it on. So for safety, I'm completely away from any exposure to this. I'm actually standing behind a television that's sitting on my my other workbench. So when I plug it in, I can't see the lamp. I can see the light from it indirectly, and I'll be able to see the monitor, but I'm completely away from the lamp when it's on. You can see how much brighter it is in the base. This one's also shot, so I doubt that there's much UV coming off this one. I am going to go pick up a new bulb today, though, because these ones here are shot. And I'll show you guys what the new one looks like when it fires up. Kind of cool to see glowing blue like that, but again, you don't want to be around it because this is not good to be exposed to this type of light. It's quite harmful to be in close proximity. You will get cell damage from it. I'm standing in the shadow now, so I'm not being exposed to the light from this thing. But just so you guys can see how it looks, I'm going to go pick up a new one. We're going to put a new lamp in here. I'll show you guys how the new one flashes up before I put this thing back into my HVAC system. It's glowing. It's fluorescing. We find something else that will fluoresce under this thing. As you can see, as the light is brightening up, the mercury is starting to vaporize throughout the entire tube. And it's starting to, even at the top, it's starting to glow now. So this is another type of UV light. This was commonly called a black light. This is a UVA lamp, but it has most of the visible components because there are two types of UV. There's the purple coated lamp that's found in bug zappers. I've got one of those around here somewhere too if I can find it, which looks like a white lamp and it emits UVA light, but it also emits a fair bit of visible light. It's a light purple. These ones are a dark purple, and the difference between them, the lamp's exactly the same inside. It's still got the UVA emitting phosphorus. It's made with a soda glass. This is actually called a Woods glass, so it's a black glass, and it doesn't emit much in the way of wavelengths except for a very specific wavelength, and this is what's called a blacklight blue as opposed to just a regular black light. These ones here are totally safe. Your eyes aren't going to be damaged by looking at one of these. This is actually the type of light. I've had this thing since I was a kid, and it looks much bluer on camera. The actual light itself, looking at it, is more closer to this. It's a dark purple, closer to the color of the fixture itself. But this will make things that fluoresce under UV light fluoresce very well. I brought this out so that we can look at a few different things under UV light and compare them to what they look like exposed to the UVC light from this one. My magnet just jumped over to this metal fixture. Of course, the UVC lamp is off now. And I'm going to replace this lamp, so we'll do a comparison after I put a new lamp in there. But we can compare how bad this one that's really dark is compared to this other one that barely lights compared to this one. And we'll just look at a few common things that will fluoresce under ultraviolet light. One of the things that had UV markings on them for security features was older Canadian currency. The new stuff that we have today, this plastic crap, I don't think has any markings at all on it. We'll just look at a couple bills here. I'm going to kill the lights because the UV components only fluoresce under UV light, but I don't think the new stuff, yeah, the new bills don't light up at all under ultraviolet light. Just going to put my camera in manual focus mode here so that I can focus it on the actual table, and we'll look at some Canadian currency under UV light to see some of the markings. So throughout the years, as our currency here has been changed, I've tried to keep one bill of every denomination that goes back to the 1950s. I don't have the oldest ones here, but I've got some from the 70s and 80s and 90s and stuff. And I'll show you that because the Canadian money, the paper money, at least the later generations actually had some UV and infrared markers in them. Let's take a look. I even got one here that most Americans probably haven't seen because you guys haven't had a $2 bill in forever, but there's an American $2 bill that was considered by bad luck by many, so that it wasn't around very long. What year is this one from? I'm just going to take a look at this here and see. 1978, I think, was the series of this one. 1976, and it was very short-lived. The American Federal Reserve issued a $2 bill. Highly collectible because there are so few of them around. But if we look under ultraviolet light, we're not going to see much on this one because, well, like all American money, they kind of glow a bit, but there's nothing that really stands out on it like any American money. The cotton in here will glow a bit, but nothing like what we had on the Canadian money. So this is a Canadian $1 bill. As you can see, it's got the little markers on it. That's why I didn't bother with I have some older ones as well, but I didn't bother to grab them. I even have a Centennial dollar from 1967, which has no serial numbers on it. It just says Centennial. It has a maple leaf, it has like a little crest on it. It says maple, Canada 100, I think it was, but it just says like 1867 to 1967 in place of the serial numbers. So, but nothing else on that would stand out. And this is one of the oldest of the $1 bills that I've got. As you can see, the dots here will glow; they fluoresce. That was the security feature for the older Canadian currency. And then we moved up to the next series here, which was the $2 bill, the Canadian $2 bill. And I'll show you guys this under regular light as well. Again, the dots glow on here. Nothing spectacular. But there are other security features on here, which I probably can show you if I bother to get another filter and put it in front of the camera, because there are some infrared features on these bills that are only available under infrared light, which I'll show you that momentarily too. The next one up was the $5 bill. Again, the only thing that's really glowing here are the dots. But some other denominations had other features on here that would show up when you looked at them under UV light. Again, just the dots on here. As we moved up, aha, look at this one. Okay, this series of bill actually had invisible ink on it. In addition to all these little stripes, little threads that would glow green, they had Bank of Canada. And under normal light, that doesn't show. If I turn on the normal light, okay, and I turn off the black light, that's what the bill looks like. You see nothing. But when you exposed it under ultraviolet light, Bank of Canada would show up. That was a security feature that they included on this generation of bill. So every bill made after that had those features. Here's an old 10, no features there. Here's the latest $10 bill. This one here has this is one of those polymer bills. This is actually one that I'm collecting only because they only put out, I think they put out 40,000 of these, and it's got a different picture on the front. It's got the different prime ministers that have been, this is the last one that was on the $10 bill. And the new generation of $10 bill is going to have her face on it. So I collected that one. As we continue here, here's another Another an old 10. Again, nothing real spectacular on this one, just the dots that glow. Here's the newer 10. Again, it's got the Bank of Canada and a 10 logo on it. Okay, and what glows here, AKFAAA, Bank du Canada. And another old 20, again, only thing that's going to glow on here is the dots, which actually could be picked off. Even the one with the gold stripe just had the dots that could be picked off on it. This one here also glows. This one here actually has some material that glows red, but it's not showing up as well as it should. Maybe it's worn off or washed out, but you can see the 20. It's got red and green invisible ink. Here's the $50 bill. Again, it has the markers in it, and the $100 bill of the paper series. And this was the one, these ones actually have the metallic stripe on them as well. So these ones have a metallic stripe, a metallic strip on them, right? You can see it there. No light shines through it. And then, of course, it glows. Same with these two. So that was a security feature on Canadian money that will show up when you look at it under a black light. Let's see if it will actually fluoresce under a UVC light. Even though there's ultraviolet, the spectrum that the UVC lamp operates at is not showing off this at all. The reason you're able to see some light here is, well, there is some visible light coming out of it, but there's light coming off my monitor and stuff that's providing enough light on the bench so that you can see with the camera. But the UVC lamp, as you can see, it's not useful as a black light because the wavelength is too short. Blacklight fluorescing dyes and paints respond to long wave ultraviolet light. And if I sound like I'm talking from 20 feet away, it's because I'm on the other side of the shop. I don't want to be exposed to this, even though this lamp is worn out and there's probably not a whole heck of a lot of UVC light still coming off of it. There will be still some. The next experiment relies on the use of a very special filter. This filter was given to me. I certainly didn't buy one of these things, but I'm sure you guys probably heard of, 25, 30 years ago, the Sony cameras with the see-through ability using one of these special filters. It's put up by a company called Kea Special Optics. And what this is an infrared pass filter. If you look at it, it looks completely black. And if I hold it in front of the camera, you will see absolutely nothing. I can fit it in here. You'll see absolutely nothing through here because it blocks all visible light. But I can assure you that there is infrared light out of the eye spectrum. Now, the reason you're not seeing anything on the camera right now is because, well, the camera is in normal mode. But if you put one of these cameras into night shot, it will remove the infrared cut filter in the camera, and then it should be able to see through this filter. Of course, it's only going to see things that are illuminated with infrared light, which with the fluorescent lights in here, there's not, I just about broke my light there. There's not a lot in infrared, but if I turn on my good old Trusky incandescent lamp, and we put the filter in front of the camera, it's going to see it just fine. Because of course, that incandescent light source has a whole ton of infrared light. Perfect for illuminating things that we want to look at. So let me just turn out some lights and let's look at those bills. Well, actually, we'll look at the bills themselves under normal lighting. So I'm going to lay out my collection of bills that has the infrared markers built in. So we'll lay out some money here that has infrared markers so you guys can see how they normally look. Okay, so this is how the bills normally look if you're looking at them with the naked eye. Let's just say nothing really out of the normal, out of the ordinary stands out here. Once I put on the infrared cut filter, you will start to see or the infrared, not the infrared cut filter, the infrared pass filter. I have to turn off the infrared cut filter on the camera. So now everything's in night shot mode. And then when I put this filter in front of the camera, and I apologize, it's not going to focus properly because it's not designed for this camera, so I have to kind of manually focus it here. I'm just going to kill some of the lights here just to make things stand out a little more under infrared light. But one thing you'll notice, now that I'm illuminating this with more infrared light than anything, because this light bulb is not a real bright one, it gives off a lot of infrared light. If I put the filter in front of the camera and try and get it right up to the lens without me getting my fingers in here and dropping it. See, I don't have an adapter for it to fit this camera. It's a 37mm filter, designed for one of the old Handycam. So we'll try and hold this thing in place here as best I can, just so you guys can see the effect. Okay, focus it here if I can. And now we'll notice when I illuminate the money, you notice that only one of the two serial numbers is showing. On this cash, there's a serial number on both sides. There's a serial number here, there's a serial number over here. And under infrared light, with an infrared filter, as you can see, only one of the serial numbers is present. The rest of the bill looks pretty much transparent. The picture doesn't show up. The one hockey player is showing on this bill. But if we look at it without the infrared cut filter, we'll see that there's actually more images than that. There's a bunch of hockey players here, right? If we go back to turn off the infrared cut filter on the camera, we'll notice that, and I gotta change my focus when I do that because it's one of the ways that they try to discourage use of these filters with the newer cameras, is that they change the focal length so that these won't work, right? These will not work on newer cameras. They only will work on the older cameras. And say I got this filter given to me. A guy gave me his old camera. His camera is broke. I've got the camera, and the camera's actually been fixed. But it's an old was a DCR. I think it's DCR TRV 110. An old one of the first generation digital 8. It works on, but it doesn't work on anything more modern. But anyway, if we look at the back side of the cache here, we'll see the picture, right? Map of Canada and everything. Now, if I go back to infrared mode and refocus the camera on here if I can, we're still going to see everything now because the camera is now seeing infrared light as well as visible light. But as soon as I put the infrared pass filter on, now, as you can see, it looks totally different. Once again, here's the Birds series of bills that we used to have here, and under normal light. When I go back to look at it under infrared light only, if I can find my button here. Oh, not the right one. Try this one. Right button. If we look at this one under the infrared pass filter, interesting things happen on this one too. If I can get this stupid filter right up against the lens without dropping it. You notice that the $2 bill here looks completely white. The only thing that shows is these barcodes on one side and one serial number. The rest of the bill is completely white, as is the 5. The 5 is also with the bird. There's supposed to be a bird right here, but there's nothing showing on that one. Same with the other $5 bill up here. The other $5 bill, the Canada coat of arms, which is just to the left of the Canada, is completely it's invisible. It doesn't show up at all under infrared light. If I turn the bills over to reveal the back side, this one's got fish boats on it. Well, they show up. That part shows up. What about the serial numbers on the front? Because there's two sets of serial numbers on the front of this one. Did they both show? I wasn't paying attention. The $5 bill, no, the serial numbers don't show. Right, there's a serial number right here. There's two serial numbers on there, and neither one of them shows. Interesting. There's a serial number, this 5 that you see right in the middle of the bill. There's a serial number both to the left and to the right of that, and one's printed in red and the other's printed in blue, but neither one show up under infrared light whatsoever. Interesting. So that's some of the the anti-counterfeiting systems that were used on the old Canadian money. Should find a way to hang this stupid light so I don't have to hold it. But that's some of the interesting things that was done on the old paper Canadian currency. I wonder, I haven't looked at any of the plastic money. Let's take a look at the current plastic money under infrared and just see whether anything's on that. Things for sure with this new crap that we've got, if it's got a bend in it from sitting in your wallet, just hold it over a light bulb for a few minutes and melt it back so it goes back straight. Because this stuff here is plastic. This new currency that we've got that's supposed to last forever is now made out of plastic. But I'm curious because we already know that there's no ultraviolet markers on this. What about infrared? So let's take a look at the front, and then I'll put the infrared filter on, and we'll take a look, or the infrared pass filter, and turn off the infrared cut filter on the camera, and we'll look at the same bills in infrared and see how they look. If I can focus this thing. Try a little experiment. This is actually the camera that was given to me that this filter fits on. I'm just going to plug this into my monitor and put it up on my plasma screen and then shoot the picture with my Sony camera here. We'll see how much better this one works than trying to hold this filter in front of this camera, because this one, it just doesn't work that well. This is a CMOS sensor, whereas this is a CCD, and a CCD sensor is much more sensitive to infrared light than any CMOS sensor ever can be, even without the infrared cut filter. This is superior as far as picking up infrared light. So let's just let's put the filter on this camera and see how it looks. In fact, this one will work so well that I won't even have to turn out the lights in the shop to show you this. So there's the bill, and if I point it over to the camera here, over to the monitor, this is how well this filter works on a camera with a CCD sensor. I should have done this all along, so I didn't have to bother. Turning out all the lights and fiddle farting around with the other camera. But here we go. We can see it clear as day. That's only one serial number. This is on the current currency. Gotta get my bearings right here because my camera is kind of facing away from me. Okay, let's just set this up a little better. Good enough. So as you can see, only one serial number shows up. And this is under regular light. I've still got the lights on in the shop here, and as you can see there, only one serial number shows up. And this is the back side of the bill, and you can actually see the Queen's portrait from the other side. Interesting. That is, I say this is the first time I've played with this camera. And I started out this video just going to show you guys my Swordfish UVC light, and look at what rabbit hole we've gone down. Now we're looking at security features on Canadian money for both ultraviolet and infrared. Who knew that we were going to get this deep into this discussion? But there you go. Only like half the bill, it's got this white stripe, which there's no infrared information here, but this is coming through from the other side of the bill. Very interesting, right? What else is on here that I'm seeing that's coming through from the other? Those signatures look like they're on the other side. So is the, and here's something interesting. If I turn off the night, well, you won't see it if I turn off the night shot, of course, unless I take the filter off on this camera. But if I pan the other camera down here, you're not seeing, there's a 20 written in white right here. And you're not seeing it. You're seeing the outline of the 0 here. But this other 20, that's coming through from the back side of the bill. There's no light from the back side. So this is light that's going through the bill and picking that up from the other side. But this circle here, that's the inside of the 20 denomination. If I turn the camera around, see, here's 20. What you're seeing is that inside of the circle. There's the bill, and there it is on the screen from the infrared camera. Isn't that is interesting? I say, this is not the only thing that they have this on. Like, you can look at credit cards and everything. There's all kinds of security information that is hidden from view, and this is so the bad guys to try and stop the bad guys. If they try to make a photocopy, that's how they can detect it right away. Those signatures you see there, they're actually on the other side of the bill. Those signatures are there. And you can see there's the 20, but that, of course, only half the 0 is showing. Only half the Queen's face is showing. And we're seeing a serial number coming through from the other side of the bill. There's nothing on this side, but serial numbers on the other side. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see, the $10 bill is exactly the same. Okay, we're looking at the 10, and we'll only see one serial number. There's another serial number right over here, but it's invisible. And again, we're seeing the portrait. We're seeing the portrait show through from the other side. The train locomotive that's on here is not there, because here's the bill itself, right? There's the train locomotive, and the train locomotive is not there. Interesting. This is the new polymer stuff. Let's just let me grab some of the other stuff again with this better camera. We'll take a look at the other stuff, because I remember this, but that just shows the difference in how good the CCD camera is. Here's an old school $1 bill, and if you look at the old school $1 bill, if I hold it in front of the camera here, you'll see what it looks like. Okay, it's got serial number in red on one side and serial number in blue on the other, and the back side of the bill looks like that. Our old Canadian $1 bill. On the infrared camera, as you can see, the back side of the bill looks kind of normal, right? But the front side of the bill, this coat of arms that was there is missing. If you remember, there's the coat of arms just to the left of the Canada sign, and the coat of arms is missing. And also, what else is missing on here? The serial number, the red serial number, is also missing. But this whole section of the bill is gone. So that's the old generation 1. I find my old generation 2 wherever I put it. So the $2 bill looked like that on the front, right? And it looks like that on the back. And under infrared, the $2 bill looks like that. Picture is, this bill is quite badly worn, so that helps, but the back side, completely clear. There's nothing that shows on the back side. That's got 2 robins on it. And if we look at the real bill again, you'll see that there's 2 robins showing on there with the word Canada, and the 2 sets of serial numbers and the 2 sets of 2s. And on here, it's completely white with just the 1 serial number. Interesting. We'll look at the couple of the 5s here, because I've got a few of them. Should have done this in the first place, because what a difference the camera makes, right? So here's one of the 5s, the Bird series of 5. Again, front side of the bill. Back side's got the belted kingfisher, I think it is, on the back here. Here's the front side. Front side looks kind of normal, right? We flip to the back side. Again, it's blank. Just the one set of barcodes. This is for a scanner, I guess. Oh, this serial number is actually kind of showing slightly, but this is black, and it's just kind of barely showing. There's the other serial number. That one's there. There's another 5, I think, that was a little newer than that. Yeah, this one here, the one with the hockey on it. So this is the back side of the last of the paper generation $5 bills, and the front side, right? And if we take a look at that one under infrared, we'll notice that, well, nothing here. This is completely blank. There's no 5 here, which is on the bill. You just get the portrait and Canada, but the rest of the picture is gone. And we look at the other side, we only see 1 hockey player. Where's the and 1 serial number? There's a serial number here, but it's not showing. And there's another hockey player right here, and you can kind of see him, but this part here is whited out. We'll go up through the denominations again here, if I can find them. This was the $10 bill, this one, that we had, and the back side. And if we look at the front side here, again, it's gone into demo mode. I'll have to turn that off and turn it back on. Camera goes into demo mode while I'm testing it here. Here's the $10 bill, and if we turn it around here, the back side of it again is like the I guess it was a cadet or somebody holding a pair of binoculars, looking a war vet holding a binocular, looking right here where my thumb is, but it's not on the bill. It's nothing there. What you can see here is you can see a portrait. There's the main portrait, but you see there's another portrait in the background that if you hold it up to the light, you can actually see it. If you look through the bill, you can actually see it, but you can see it showing up on infrared on both sides on the $10 bill. Here's the 20. The back side of the 20. You notice the artwork on the back. We look at the front side here. Again, the same thing. The 20 that was on here, there's a 20 that's there and it's missing. And if we look at the back side here, everything is gone except for the artwork here. The rest of the bill looks pretty much. There's a 20 right here, but that's the inner part of the 0. You can see it, but the rest of it is gone, and there's only one serial number. So the one serial number thing was quite common. There's this series, and the back side has the moon on it. And if I look at the back side here, it's completely clear. Again, like the other ones. So the bird picture and everything is gone. All it's showing is just one serial number. And the front side looks pretty normal on this one, except for just the one serial number. If you guys want to look at that old American $2 bill again, because they're quite rare. I have not only one, but I actually have 2 of them. Under the infrared, I don't see anything different on this. It just looks like black and white. It looks like all American money, right? Just one color. Boring. You need colorful money like ours. Here's an old 5. This was one of the more colorful series of our 5s. Looks nice. The back side of this one had the fish boats on it. Under infrared. Once again, only one serial number. Coat of arms here is gone. Right, there's a coat of arms up there in the left corner. And the serial number in red, it's not there. No, both serial numbers are missing. Back side looks pretty much the same. Nothing much changed on the back side there. What else do we have here? I got another old 10. I think we saw this one already. Maybe not. This is a 10 from one of the last, not the last paper series, but the second to the last of the paper series. The bird series. The bird is not there. It's just one serial number, just a blank one, like all the rest of the money in that series. And a 20 here. This is an even older series. This one would be I think this is a 1979 series of the 20s. The back side had the mountains on it. And under infrared, the back side still has the mountains, but this one here, both serial numbers show. Interesting. Maybe this is counterfeit. The front side. Coat of arms aren't showing. It's not counterfeit. It's real, right? If you're wondering, have I ever discovered counterfeit money with this setup? Actually, when I had this camera given to me, I used to use it to look at money, because when I was in the video production business, here's an old 50, one of the old 50s with the Mounties on the back, which is now, I guess, quite a collector's item because they haven't been around for many years, but it had the Mounties on the back, and the back side of it still has the Mounties, but as you can see where it says 50, it's not, it's just the picture shows up. Everything else from the back side is gone. And there's the front side, and the front side of this is completely blank. Here's the front side of the bill, right? Red, and on the back side it's completely blank. No serial numbers whatsoever on the $50 bill. Just a part of the portrait. The Mounties in black and white. But interesting. Is the picture the same or does it look different? I mean, the horses are all there, but I gotta reset this thing again. If we look at the picture here, okay, there's our picture. A bunch of Mounties sitting on black horses with Canadian flags. And we look at the other side of it here, and I guess it's the same picture. It just doesn't show up as well on the camera. and this bill is quite worn. But anyway, that's the back side of that. The front side is completely blank. And I have two more 50s as we went through newer phases. There's this one here that had the gold seal on it, and the back side of this one had the birds. And again, the back side is going to be blank, and only one serial number. The front side is also blank, or pretty much blank, just the 50 logo and a bit of a 50 showing here. The rest of it, as you can see, looks pretty transparent there. And the last of the paper 50s was this one here, right? And the back side, and we look at the front side on infrared, and again, only the portrait shows, and you can see the metallic strip here and the other metallic strip there. You can read the metallic strip that's embedded in the paper. The back side of it, same thing. You'll see the metallic strip here, and you'll see the portrait showing through. This is the hologram of the portrait, and part of the portrait on the right side. And the last one I will show you guys is the last of the paper generation 100s, which was that one. And the back side is that one with the map of Canada. We'll start out looking at the back side. You know, the front side, there's a satellite on here, right? And the map of Canada. And we look at the bottom here, and the satellite is not there. At least the satellite dish that's down here is not there. And only one serial number. And the front side again, same thing. Front side here, right? And the front side under infrared, and you've just got the portrait. That was one of the ways that they and of course, when we looked under ultraviolet, it had the Bank of Canada stamp here as well. Remember, that glowed under ultraviolet. So those are a couple of ways that they protected Canadian currency, the prior generation of Canadian currency. The current generation, as we saw with some of the plastic money here, it does have markers in it too. The same thing with the serial numbers, right? The current generation has also got infrared markers, and only have this portrait showing from the other side. There's no portrait on the side of the bill. But anyway, for you guys wondering, have I ever come across counterfeit currency with the setup? Yes, I have. Back in the day when I was doing a lot of video production work, I'd get clients that would pay me off in cash. I'd go and shoot somebody's wedding, and they would give me cash for it. And I started, when I got this given to me, and I've had this camera for many years. It was given to me many years ago, and the filter. The guy that bought it, he dropped it and broke it, and was told it couldn't be fixed. Bought a new camera, and of course the filter didn't work on his new camera, so he gave me his camera and he gave me the filter, and I got the camera working. I had to change the mechanism. I think there's a video up on it. Digital 8 repair. I think there's 3 parts to this where I changed the actual basket, the whole what they call the B. It's the B mechanism. It's what's called the chassis assembly. I took it off an old camera to fix it, but anyway, the camera was given to me. It wouldn't record or play. It would just eject. But before I fixed it, I used to use it just for this, for looking at currency, to verify it, because I was hired. This is going back in probably to the, I'm going to say it was probably the I'm trying to remember when I got this thing. It'd be late 90s, I think, because this camera came out in the late 90s. It wasn't that old when I got this thing. But anyway, somebody paid me, and they gave me a bunch of cash, and I was going through the bills, and I found some bills that were not real. They were bogus, and they've been in circulation. When I talked to the client, I said, "I'll give you back your counterfeit bill," and he's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, some of the money you gave me, one of the bills was bad." I said, "I'll show you how I know it's bad," and I showed him the setup, and he couldn't believe it that he had taken one. So yeah, it's paid off. But anyway, that's how they do it. That's how you determine if you've got real money or fake money, using infrared technology. This little filter here, I think you can probably still buy them as well. It would work fine on like a black and white security camera, as long as it's a CCD type. The CMOS ones, as you saw when I was holding it in front of this camera that I'm filming this on, when I was holding it in front of the lens on that, I didn't get the same type of results that I got off this one, because this one really works well. You got to use the CCD camera really, and of course you need a light source that has lots of infrared light, which I'm just using it's just one of these. Well, I showed you guys before, but it's just I just hung it there over top. Decided to stop holding the light. I just taped it up here. This is just one of those. It's a 60-watt incandescent vintage licking bulb, right? One of the vintage ones, the globe ones, right? Something like that. These things, because they're not real bright, they're more of a yellow color. Well, they give off a lot of infrared radiation, which is perfect when you want to use an infrared camera to examine documents, because there's lots of stuff that you can learn from documents by looking at them on infrared light. Anyway, this has gone on too long. Let's get that UVC light replaced. I'll show you what a new UVC light looks like. So back to this unit. As you can see how dark the lamp has gotten for that one. I've got a new bulb here, by the way. We'll just unplug this other one here as well. This other one's also, as you saw, it was dead. And I've got a new one, and I had a fun time getting this thing today, because even though it is in stock at stores, many times their inventory system is not correct. And I went online, and the local store, it showed no inventory. I phoned the store. Nope. Computer says we don't have it. We don't have it. Go to our other store in the next town. So I drive 20 miles to the next store. Computer says they've got 2. I get there. They've got 0. They say, oh, well, this other store, they've got 8. I drive to the third store, which is another in the same town, but on the other side of town. And they've got 0. And they said, try your local store. I said, well, I already phoned them, and they have none. Said, oh, well, you should just go in there and check for yourself, or ask someone to go and actually physically check it. So, okay, I go back to my local store, walk into the store, and what do I find? Even though the computer said they had none, and when I phoned, they said we had none. So I figured I'm going to raise hell with the manager. So I got the manager out, and the manager just kind of rolled his eyes and said, well, that's what you get when you hire a receiver who hasn't finished high school. So he doesn't scan some of the stuff in. It just arrives, and stuff gets put away on the shelf, and it doesn't get entered into the system. I said, what the hell is good in having a computer system? I said, I drove all over town. I said, I said to the guy, I actually expect a discount. Didn't get one, but I said to him, I expect a discount on this because I drove to 2 other stores where your computer said you had one and you didn't have it. And I come to the store where I phoned and you guys said we had none. I said, you guys would have better off saying, I don't know if we've got it or not. Why don't you come down and look? I said, here's an idea. When the computer says we don't have it, go to the shelf and see if it's actually there. Anyway, that's my rant on that. Here's the new one in the box. As you can see, the tube is much clearer than the others. This is how they look when they're brand new. So we'll get a closer look at that. But as you can see, the glass actually turns brown in this case. Let's see if we can see any mercury in this thing. So we look into the end of the tube here, the electrodes. You'll see that that's a hot cathode, as Big Clive already explained in his. You can see the coating, the white coating on there. That's the coating that makes the tungsten wire emit electrons when it's heated up. The square material behind it, I believe that's the mercury amalgam, where the mercury is stored in solid form. And when it heats up, it evaporates and fills the tube. And as close as I look, I don't really even see any liquid mercury in here. If you look at older fluorescents, you'd see all kinds of drops of mercury, but the new ones, the mercury level is actually quite low. And a lot of times they use a mercury amalgam now, which is in a solid form. Anyway, that's the new tube compared to the 2 older ones. As you can see, they are quite discolored. This one in the middle here, this one's got a lot more hours on it. You can see they've almost turned black. That actually might be the mercury, That might be the mercury on this material here, because you know, that might be the mercury amalgam there. I don't know how they make these things, but if you look at this one here, it looks like it's completely almost gone. So that might be the mercury source right there. On these may not be getters; these may be the mercury source. And as they heat up, a little bit of mercury evaporates, and that becomes your mercury vapor. As the mercury gets absorbed by the glass, which that's what's darkening the glass. That's the mercury being absorbed by the quartz tube. I bet you that's what those are. Those are probably the source of mercury. You can see this one here is pitted as well, but not to the same degree as the one. This one here, I took it out of service when the replaced lamp indicator came on. This other one here, it's been running much longer. The replaced lamp indicator's been on for probably a year. Normally they're good for about a year. If we look up here, I think I can see some mercury in the tube here. Where did I see it? What's this right here? Is that a little drop of mercury? I think that's a little drop of mercury right there. You can see it inside the tube. Cool. Anyway, this other one was replaced relatively soon after the replaced lamp indicator came on, and this one was put in. But this one, I didn't change it. I just left it. I forgot all about it. And the replaced lamp indicator has been on for a while. So now it's getting swapped out for this nice new one. Let's flash this one up for the first time and just watch what it does. So I'm going to install the lamp. The lamp just fits into its base. Again, it's got the resistor in the bottom here, which will reset the timer, which will then start counting the hours, and when it gets to 360 days or 365 days, about a year of operation, it will then indicate that the lamp has to be replaced again. So I'll set the lamp in here. I'm going to set the magnet on top of the switch. I haven't applied power to this thing yet because I'm going to actually step out of the line of fire when this thing fires up. I don't want to be around it. I've got my dark glasses ready to go here. Put them on. And I'm just going to get out of the way before I fire this thing up and let you guys experience this thing starting up for the first time. Here goes the switch. We'll let this thing warm up for a couple minutes. It'll get up to full brightness there shortly. I'm out of the line of fire. I'm out of the exposure. I am seeing some paper fluoresce, but again, not nearly as much as it was under the regular blacklight blue. There's a piece of paper mounted on the opposite wall that's got the old Indian head pattern on it, and it is fluorescing, but not to the same degree as it did with the other blacklight. Okay, that thing should be up to operating temperature now. We'll turn it off and we'll take a look and see if we can see any mercury on it. I think I'm right. I think this is a reservoir for the mercury. Take a look at the base of the lamp here. It's kind of cloudy on the inside. I think that mercury is evaporating, and it's probably not up to full operating temperature yet. But you can see the inside of the tube here is kind of cloudy, I think, and around this. I don't think that's a getter. I think that's the mercury reservoir. And as it heats up, that's an amalgam that vaporizes and provides the mercury for the actual lamp to operate. I'll let this thing operate for a few more minutes. I'm going to get out of the area here while I let it operate. And we'll just see if that actually deposits any more on the inside of the tube as it runs. Maybe I'll set the camera up on a close-up here, and we'll just take a look at the electrodes themselves. I'll get this thing zoomed in as close as I can. I'm going to put it in manual focus too, because I don't know what it's going to do, whether it's going to go out of focus when it lights. We'll get as close up of a shot as I can of the actual filaments, and I'll fire this thing up. Okay, get my little magnet back on here, wherever I did with it. Okay, we're going to fire this thing up, and you guys can watch what it does. I'll let it run for a few minutes and just let it record, and we'll observe what happens down here. And yes, I can smell the ozone. I'm just going to leave the room while this runs. I'm going to let it run for about 15 minutes. Of course now, oh, the replaced lamp light still comes on. I wonder why that is. It's got a new bulb in it. Oh, maybe because it's off. Because I don't have the magnet on there, so that may come on when the lamp is off. Anyway, it's time to put this thing back into the furnace itself, and then we'll turn it back on. You can see that what was evaporated through the glass there is now mostly dissipated, but I have a feeling that these things are not getters in a conventional respect that a vacuum tube getter. I think this is the reservoir for the mercury. I may be wrong, but I think that's probably what it is. Get the camera to focus on here, right up to the lens, so we can get extreme close-up of this thing. Oh, there you can see it. There's see the microscopic mercury? You can see it on the glass. Let me get that camera focused again on this thing. But you can see it on the glass there. See, there's the mercury. Little droplets of mercury have now formed on the inside of the glass. Yep, that's the mercury. Okay, let's get this lamp back into the HVAC. I'll show you where it goes on my system. So the unit just fits right in. It just goes in like this. And once it's installed, you turn it in place, and then plug the power into the side of it. Power cord plugs into the side of it, and it should light up. And there we go. Replace light is now off because the lamp is lit. There's a little inspection hole down here, which I can look into. Well, not really look into it, but I can see if the lamp is working. It's a little tiny hole there that I can see if it works. So I know it's working. And that's good for another year. Another year from now, this light will start blinking and it'll tell me it's time to invest another $60. And I'll just date it. I had the old date from the last one, so I'll just date the new one so that I know when I put it in. That's it. Thanks for watching.